Hello, my name is C.J. Lovik, and in this update, we're going to begin connecting the prophetic time durations with actual dates on the Hebrew calendar, dates that I have converted to dates on the Roman calendar. Also, I notice that some of you are concerned that as we approach the end of the Hebrew year on Tishri 1, which converts to around September 16th on the Roman calendar, that if I am not right about the start date for the time of Jacob's trouble, that my career as a prophecy teacher is over. Well, I agree. As always, we invite the viewer to search out the scriptures, in this case Ezekiel 4, and see for yourself what it reveals, with the hope that our own investigation will be of some assistance along the way. In update number 6, we focused on Ezekiel 4 and the two houses of Israel, and the two specific prophetic events and numerical prophecies for the house of Israel and the house of Judah. We made a list of about a dozen questions in our previous update. Now let's begin answering and investigating those questions. So question number 1. Studying Ezekiel 4, we asked, what is the same and what is different between the two sieges of Jerusalem, and why is it important? First, let's take a look at some of the differences. Number 1. Ezekiel lies on his left side as he portrays the siege of Jerusalem prophetically for the house of Israel, and on his right side for the house of Judah. This in itself indicates two separate sieges. Ezekiel is told to begin by lying on his left side. In Exodus 15, verse 6, and Psalms 118, verse 16, the Bible presents the right hand, or the right side, as the side and the hand that is the strongest. The siege against the house of Israel, portrayed by Ezekiel, was performed with the prophet's left side and left hand, while laying on his left side, indicating a weaker siege. The siege portrayed against the house of Judah is accomplished while lying on the right side using his right hand. So the first thing we learn is the siege of Jerusalem, that is a sign to the house of Israel, is weaker than the siege against the house of Judah. The Lord adds two more details that make this difference even clearer. God tells Ezekiel to put an iron pan between himself and the portrayal of Jerusalem that represents an iron wall around Jerusalem. The walls of Jerusalem are going to be unscalable. While on the other hand, he tells Ezekiel to bare his right arm and be unrelenting in his siege of the house of Judah, and there is no iron wall of protection. Well, there are only 3 sieges of Jerusalem highlighted in the Bible. The first was the siege of Jerusalem by the Assyrians in 701. This siege was unsuccessful, as the Lord sent down an angel to destroy over 160,000 Assyrian troops that were assembled around the walls of Jerusalem. The second siege was the Chaldean final siege, or what we call the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem under the kingship of Nebuchadnezzar, and that took place in 589 BC. The third siege was by the Romans under Titus. This siege began on Passover on the Hebrew calendar, and the temple was destroyed on the 9th of Av in the same year, that year being 70 AD. The question is, out of the 3 sieges, which 2 historical sieges of Jerusalem did God have in his mind? The prophecy was portrayed by Ezekiel, who had been deported to Babylon. You would naturally think that this was probably the 6th century siege of Jerusalem that God had on his mind. The problem is that the Babylonian siege, often called the Chaldean siege of Jerusalem, resulted in 70 years of captivity and had no connection to the 40 years of iniquity that Ezekiel was revealing. Jeremiah is a contemporary of Ezekiel and is the one God chose to reveal the prophecy to the house of Judah that took place in the 6th century, resulting in 70 years that Israel had neglected to keep a Sabbath rest for the land. No one at that time or since has been able to make a credible case that the 40 years prophesied by Ezekiel, the 40 years of iniquity attributed to the house of Judah, had anything to do with the 70 years of captivity in Babylon. So we are left with a puzzle that was unanswerable until the third siege took place by the Romans in 70 AD. Here's another interesting fact. All three sieges happened on a 7-year sabbatical cycle. I challenge you to check this out for yourself, and do not use a calculator, but rather a date duration calendar whenever you are checking any dates that cross from BC to AD or AD to BC. I suggest the Casio date duration calendar that you can look up on your search engine. Let's do the math. 701 BC minus 589 BC equals 112 years, divided by 7 equals 16. 16 sabbatical cycles between the first and second siege of Jerusalem. 701 BC to 70 AD equals 770 years divided by 7 equals 110 sabbatical cycles between the first siege and the third siege. All three of the sieges of Jerusalem are in harmony with each other, as they all happened on the same sabbatical cycle that started with creation. But wait, there's more. The time periods identified by the Lord as periods of iniquity are also number clues. The 701 BC siege, with its 390 years of iniquity for the house of Israel, is not, I repeat, not divisible by 7. The 589 siege, with its 70 years of iniquity, is divisible by 7. The 70 BC siege, with its 40 years, house of Judah, is not, repeat, not divisible by 7. So the 701 BC and the 70 AD siege dates match, as neither period of iniquity is divisible by 7. But there's another clue. 390, when you raise that number to 392, is divisible by 7. It equals 56. And 40, when you add 2 years, is divisible by 7 also. It's 6. In other words, the two time periods of iniquity in both the 701 siege of Jerusalem and the 70 AD siege of Jerusalem are both 2 years shy of a sabbatical cycle. 2 years? Or could it be 18 months? Well, that's another clue. So let's end this video by putting up our 7,000-year timeline and putting up our first two dates that are the key that, once in place, open the door to filling in all the missing dates on God's 7,000-year timeline for mankind. Stay tuned, and Maranatha.